Welcome back to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint. Today we have Brendan Richardson, owner of CR3 franchise Eastern Shore in Ocala, Florida. Brendan, how are you?
I'm good, Matt. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You
Absolutely.
got
Lester,
you got two locations already, Brendan?
That's right.
Let's go.
Scaling it up.
That's right.
yeah. So Brendan, we wanted to talk to you today about, you were one of the top performing managers of Eastern Shore when before CR3 even decided to franchise out their companies. You ran obviously a really successful branch. When they did this at the franchise, you decided, hey, I think I'm ready to become a business owner. And I think it's gone pretty well for you so far. Obviously, it's gone so well that you opened up a second branch down in Florida. So talk to us a little bit about the transition from becoming a manager to becoming a business owner and why you decided to take that jump.
Yeah, so you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? You kind of felt like it was that time to take that next step. I felt like the opportunity for me was a little bit better because it wasn't me making that decision. It was other people kind of helping me out through that process, right? I always tell people there will never be a perfect time to start your own company or take that next step on yourself. So it's kind of just best to figure it out later and commit to it now, right? So that's kind of what we started with here, and then not much changed with the day to day. I mean, you're still kind of doing the same duties, same responsibilities, making sure everything else is going smoothly, but there's just a little bit more gravity to it now.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Let's do this. Let's go back a little bit and rewind. What did it mean to you when Carney Freifogel came and said, dude, we're talking about franchising in the home exterior space? What did that mean to you then, and what does it mean to you now?
Oh, I mean, it was a huge honor back then. I mean, to be one of the people that were, in my opinion, hand selected to kind of take that role on. Huge honor coming from Carney. I mean, he taught me everything I know about this industry as far as how to be successful, how to kind of go about your business in this industry. I mean, even more so now, I feel honored by it because you see what it has kind of grown to already, and we're only what 2, 3 years into this now.
That's right.
So it's like it was a big honor back then because I already saw the vision after being around Carney for so long, but to see it kind of come into fruition now, I just think that's super special to be a part of.
Cool. But like when he said franchising, obviously you're in home exteriors, you're
Yeah,
selling to homeowners.
it was
What
a
did you
bit
think
of
of? Did you
a
think of like a Chick-fil-A, McDonald's? What did that look like?
Yeah, I thought it would look a little bit more like that, but I think we kind of took a good approach with it, where it has that sort of power to it, but it's not all cookie cutter like that. There's a lot more individuality available here as far as when people think franchise, they think it's kind of like a one size fits all approach, where you're expected to just kind of copy and paste in whatever marketplace you're in.
Hmm.
I feel like we kind of hit the sweet spot here of we get that national backing and support, but we also get a lot of individuality, like I said. So it's been cool to kind of see that evolve as far as from day one to where we are now. I think that's been kind of the coolest part of it, seeing how we can kind of differentiate ourselves from other national brands.
Yep.
What has your feeling been? Obviously, you were managing a ton of different salesmen a couple years ago. It wasn't your company. You were just the top general manager of your branch. And it was a lot of work. And you were working 15, 16-hour days.
Hmm.
Now you're still working 15, 16-hour days, but it's your company,
Yeah.
right? So obviously, I'm sure there's a different feeling being an owner from being a manager when your days are so busy, but there's something to it that you can claim this company is mine and I'm building something here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hear people talk all the time about sweat equity, right? I think that's
Hmm.
a lot more available with this path. Whereas you don't really feel like you're working, you feel like you're kind of just doing yourself, you're doing something for yourself at this point, right? I mean, the hours are still very long. I like to joke sometimes with some buddies, like I traded my 9 to 5 back in the day so I could work 24/7, right? So um, it's all about, I mean, it's a little bit different though. I mean, it's easier. I'm not gonna say it's easier to get out of bed at 5 in the morning when it's for yourself, but you
That
kind of
drive
you
though, that
you
drive
kind
changes,
of
man. That light
yeah.
switch.
Yeah, you have the fire that burns under you is a little bit hotter at that point. So I think it's a more of a motivator for you.
Very good, very good. And yeah, Eastern Shore, but also down in Ocala, Florida. Take us through that thought process and why you thought it was the right time. And I understand you have a partner down there
Yeah, absolutely. So that, I mean, it's
too as
actually
well.
a funny, yeah, it's actually a little bit of a funny story with that. Good buddy of mine from high school had reached out to me. What was it? It was probably around this time last year, a little bit maybe into February, but probably I think it was into January last year, and he was getting ready to move down to Florida. I was kind of at a point in Maryland where I was thinking about expanding, and I had actually decided not to that week. Decided to that we were going to wait another year, kind of grow Maryland a little bit more. And then my phone rang. So Jacob hit me up with this idea. He was like, "Well, I see what you're doing up in Maryland and Delaware. Seems to be working. Why don't you can you mentor me and help me out with something like this, right?" And I was like, I was like, let's do something better than that, right? Let's get you
Hmm.
involved, get you a piece of the pie where you can kind of grow this and scale this a lot more rapidly than anybody could do on their own. Because while I can help you with what I've picked up and learned, if you just get in the passenger seat of the vehicle, we'll get there a lot faster, right? So we
That's
decided to open up a separate branch down there, which has been pretty sweet so far. We're doing pretty well down here after a good hurricane season too. So
so. I guess you're considered a snowbird now, right? When it gets a little cold in the Northeast,
yep, I
you go down to
saw.
Florida and run with the horses.
Yeah, man, I saw that forecast for a bunch of snow coming, and I hopped right on I-95 and headed down to Florida. So good way to stay busy and stay working too.
And continue just to make money.
Yeah.
It's amazing what franchises can do as far as opportunity. You know, like we have some folks that come to us and they're like, we know where we want to retire, so we want to open up a second location so that as soon as we get to that point of removing ourselves from our current location, we can then go down to our other destination
Hmm.
and still work when we want to work, right?
Exactly.
So that's something awesome about franchising, which I didn't really realize in the beginning of this, but obviously the opportunity in the home services space, the time is now. Get yourself involved with a group or roll up, and I think franchising is a great option because it keeps you at control of the vehicle, right? Private equity is also a great option, but you know you're probably going to be removed from that situation, and you'll get your bag, and things will be good. But who knows when that bag runs out? So I think franchising and trying to build a legacy like you're doing and expanding in multiple territories is something people are going to realize is a really powerful position to be in.
Hmm.
So we're appreciative for you for that. Speaking about Florida, are you hearing anything about asphalt shingles maybe going in a different direction in Florida because of all these hurricanes and stuff like that? Like I'm hearing the metal and the tile are really starting to take over, and just because the asphalt shingles just they fly off. So if you could talk about that a little bit, if you're hearing
Yeah,
that.
of course. There's definitely, I mean, especially coming from where I'm from up in Ocean City, Maryland, right? I mean, it's just a different ball game down here when you talk about building codes, building products that you want to use, because a lot of the stuff that we do in Maryland, I mean, it wouldn't last 10 minutes in a hurricane down here, right? So,
Right.
like you said, metal, Spanish tile, all that, we're getting a lot more, we're seeing a different shift right now, right? Where people are, when their shingles blow off, Hurricane Milton, I believe it was, we saw a lot of it where a lot of shingles blew off and people are like, we don't want to keep doing this, right?
Mm,
We want to just put something up there that has a better chance, right? We know it's not
right.
going to be hurricane proof, but we want to put something up there with a better chance. So
And it's more
we,
expensive, but it's going to last you longer. So having the options, talk about kind of the options that I guess you guys make available to some of the homeowners if it's not such a feasible thing financially to take that route.
yes, I mean, and that's something we've run into a lot, especially with insurance deductibles just being the way they are down here. Some insurance companies, a lot of insurance companies won't work in Florida too, so that's kind of a hurdle that we have as well. But we have a bunch of different plans that we can hook our customers up with to kind of get them to the finish line and get that project done. Whether it be through FEMA grants down here, whether it be through financing plans that we offer, different avenues like that, where we can kind of get the job done. And we're starting to see some different material come out. I know I was talking to Lucas up in Michigan the other day, and he was talking about some metal shingles that we've actually started doing down here. So it's kind of cool to see some similarity in two very different geographical markets, but a durable product that can withstand both.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Walk us through the market research that you had to do when you went down to Ocala, if you have someone looking to open up a roofing franchise and they're looking at a new market,
Mhm.
it's, as Lester just pointed to, it's a lot different than the Eastern Shore, Ocala. Right now, you have different types of shingles that people are turning to in Florida. What does that market research look like? How long did that take to actually pick up on? And if if you could give advice to a business or someone seeking to own a franchise, what would it be while researching a new market?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. You gotta know what you're playing against. You gotta know your codes that you have to install to, and you gotta know kind of your marketplace. I think that's a good way to put it. When me and Jacob first started this, or first decided that we were going to do this down here, we were kind of taking turns in who was coming down and kind of just getting the lay of the land. We part of why we landed with Ocala is it's actually one of the top 10 fastest growing cities in Florida right now. So that was part of our research. There's a lot of construction, a lot of development going on here. Um, and we like to think too, with all of that development and construction, as we start to build our foundation over the next 5, 10 years, that replacement market's really going to present itself over the next 10 years, especially here. So for guys like us to do demo and put back, I mean, I think that's going to be a big market with all these new construction homes popping up too. So that was a big part of our decision, but we also, with us being a franchise, having the national footprint we do, we felt like we could compete. Now, it was a little bit intimidating here because there are a lot of big players in the Florida market. Everybody wants to be a roofer down here, especially after hurricane season, especially after some insurance deductibles and FEMA money starts floating around. Everybody wants to be a roofer down here, but there's a lot of big dogs. So having that national footprint and the national kind of firepower that we do, we've seen a lot of success with competing and winning jobs against some of those big guys too.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it obviously has everything to do with the brand power that a franchise offers, but
Mhm.
it also has to do with you, man. I mean, your attention to detail and your sales and your marketing, and as well as your customer experience and what we're seeing you do out here, that's separating you. That's what we're looking for in a strategic partner as we fill these locations. Someone who can really focus on the business instead of in the business. And that's exactly what you're doing. So I think it's a combination of the brand power with corporate, but what you're doing is eating up that market share, and you're going to position yourself well for time to come. So just keep doing what you're doing. Keep your nose down. Talk about some of your goals that you're after in 2025, personally and professionally. What do you got?
Yeah, so I mean, I won't get into too much of the numbers professionally, but we're looking to
Okay.
scale up pretty big down here for this next year. Right now, it's just me and Jacob kind of wheeling and dealing around here. So we're trying to get, now that we've got a foundation built, we're trying to build a team and kind of divide and conquer a little bit more, so we can cover more of that, more mileage, cover more homes, all of that fun stuff too. Maryland, we're in a weird spot up in Maryland right now where we're kind of readjusting here, right? Where after we're coming up on 2 years there. After the first 2 years, we've got a really good foundation built, but we want to kind of pivot where we're doing stuff, right? We want to kind of focus on a lot of those more commercial jobs up there now. Not that we're trying to shy away from residential, but because we feel like we've got a good market share in residential, I want to kind of push our guys up there to take that next step and let's go get a couple of those hotels every year in Ocean City. Let's go get a couple of those big condo buildings, right? Let's start going after some of the bigger stuff, apartment complexes, all of that, right? It doesn't have to just be residential anymore up there. And I'm trying to hopefully get to that point down here as well, but we'll see what we can do in 1 year.
Oh yeah, no, I'm super excited, man. Like I said, just do what you're doing. And then one last thing that I'll talk about, but like again, having access to a bunch of strategic partners that are brothers and sisters, and they control, their territories. Talk about that. Like, do you communicate with the other strategic partners in CR3? Again, you're talking about getting into commercial. I know we got some heavy hitters that've been around for some time, like a Strawbridge down in Atlanta,
hmm
Georgia. Like, talk about those relationships and how that kind of helps you in your day to day when you're trying to get to where you got to go.
Yeah, I mean, one of the more I guess comforting aspects of having the franchise backing is there's 30 other people across the country that do exactly what I do every day and have the same frustrations I do some days, and it's really easy to pick up the phone and get through some of that stuff. especially when there's a growing network of, like I said, people that do the exact same stuff that I do every day. So it's at times it can be really hard, like because you think other people just don't get it, especially with me being a little bit younger. It's kind of hard, like nobody gets what I'm going through, right? But you pick up the phone, you call Brad, you call Lucas, you call Brian Roulette, right? Those guys, they get it, right? And they're easy to work with. They have a really good, it's just a really good network that we have that can kind of not only just for like if you're feeling frustrated or banging like or banging your head against the wall, right? But if you there's still stuff every day that we all run into that maybe we haven't seen before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take a photo, I mean, put it in a Slack thread, and you've got an answer in 2 3 minutes from probably the hundreds of years combined experience in that group message.
Yeah, yeah, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, Brendan, we're super excited to see where you're taking both your franchises now, and
Yeah.
obviously, you know, there's so much that not only Lester and I can learn from guys like you, but our listeners can learn from guys like you. And again, people who are looking to open up, people who are looking to start their own business, right? You're a great model that, again, no matter where you are in life, if you do the research, if you're willing to put in the time, right? If you're willing to deal with growing pains, like, this is why America is so great, because it's a land of opportunity, right? You learn from your mistakes, you keep growing, right? When you were a manager, there was a lot of mistakes that you had to learn from. There was a lot of not just mistakes on jobs, but mistakes on how you manage people. But now that
Hmm.
you're the owner and you have to manage people, you've had that experience from when you were a manager. And so just if I we can leave our listeners with something is don't give up. Don't give up.
Hmm.
Like, don't stop if you're feeling those growing pains, right? That's what's gonna vet you to become successful. That's what's gonna vet you to become a business owner. And so again, as Lester always puts it, we don't just choose anyone to start a franchise for CR3. It takes a certain man or woman that we all say, yeah, you know what? They have it. They have that special drive. So I just want to give again kudos to you. And just that we're excited to see where you take this both your companies.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point too. And I mean, having the opportunity, and just because you become an owner, right, that doesn't make you immune to learning from your mistakes. My first year as an owner, I mean, hell, I think I learned more about life than I did my prior 24 years, right? So, I mean, it's definitely an adjustment. It teaches you a lot, but it's all about getting up and keep going, right? Even if you don't have a great day, Lester, I think you told me this a couple days ago or a while back. It's all about stringing good days together. If you're not having, if you're kind of in a little bit of a slump, right, you just got to start stringing some good days together, and the rest will take care of itself.
Stacking days, baby.
That's
Let's
right,
do it.
man. That's right.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, we appreciate you coming on our podcast. We hope to have you back here in a few months,
Yeah, I
see where
appreciate you guys having me.
you're at. And again, thank you.
Yeah, of course, guys. Thank you.
All right, let's get to work. To the moon.
That's
See you
right.
later.
That's right, guys.